Shalom, this is Rabbi Naf again, continuing our class on Shabbat. We were able to cover some of the rituals of Shabbat in the first part of the class, and so this is the second part of the class in which we're going to continue talking about Shabbat itself through some of its rituals as illustrations of what the Jewish Sabbath is. We talked about the candles before, and what I want to reiterate about the candles is not only the beautiful symbolism and the wonderful way in which it helps us welcome in Shabbat, but also what it teaches us about the nature and the practice of Shabbat itself. Right? The reason that we light the candles is because, technically speaking, if in an age pre-electricity, let's say, where you could leave lights on all Shabbat long, it would mean if you didn't have candles lit before Shabbat, you would have no light on Shabbat in order to celebrate your meals and to have time with family at home, because you're not allowed to kindle a fire on Shabbat. So we light candles before Shabbat begins because we wouldn't be able to kindle fire at other points during the day. Which brings us to two important aspects of Shabbat, right? The reason many people have two candles in the first place is to reflect a sort of dual nature of Shabbat. There is Shamor et Yom HaShabbat Lekadsho, which you find in the book of Deuteronomy when it lists the Ten Commandments that one should observe the Sabbath day and keep it holy. And there is Zachor et Yom HaShabbat Lekadsho, that one should remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy, which is the iteration of the Ten Commandments that one finds in the book of Exodus. It says one should remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. And the rabbis say that these are two different aspects of Shabbat, both of which are important and crucial to observing Shabbat. One is, let's call it the positive values of Shabbat, making Shabbat beautiful, having family time, having an atmosphere of Shabbat, celebrating, being joyful, etc. And then there is Shamor et Yom HaShabbat Lekadsho, observe the Sabbath day, which are all of, let's say, the prohibitions on Shabbat, the invitation to refrain from different labors. Sometimes the prohibitions can conflict with the positive values, and vice versa. Right? The candles are a really good example of that. Right? You can't light a fire on Shabbat because of the prohibitions, which could impinge on one's ability to have the joy of Shabbat, the Zachor. And so what the rabbis say is that that's why we should light candles before Shabbat, right? So we can hold both of those values at the same time. We can observe the technical prohibitions, but also enable ourselves to feel the full joy and beauty of Shabbat. And so we have the candles for that. Following lighting the candles, many Jews would traditionally go to services on Friday night, right? In some communities, the order of this might be different. For example, in Har Zion's community, where no matter when it is during the year, we have services at 6 o'clock, right? So that might mean that some weeks we have services before candle lighting time, and you would go home and after services and then light candles. In other weeks, like right now during the winter, it might mean that candle lighting is long before 6 o'clock. Right? In which case, right, my wife and I light candles at home. This week was about 4:15. And then at 6 o'clock we're here for services, and then we come home after services and have Shabbat dinner. So I'm actually going to kind of fast forward from candle lighting to Shabbat dinner. Services on Friday evening are a whole animal in and of themselves. But one thing to note is that normally during an evening service, you just have the service called Mariv, which is the evening service, which consists of the recitation of the Shema and the Amida, the standing in private prayer. On Shabbat, we have one additional service, which is called Kabbalat Shabbat, service for welcoming in Shabbat, which mainly consists of 6 psalms selected by the mystical tradition that build up to a crescendo of the psalm for Shabbat. Right before the psalm for Shabbat, there's a beautiful poem called Lecha Dodi, which was written in the 16th century by Shlomo Alkabetz, a Jewish mystic from the land of Israel. And They are songs, joyous songs and beautiful songs that invite us to welcome in Shabbat. But then we come home. And the rabbi said that on Shabbat, Shabbat itself has an additional spiritual energy. And sometimes that's metaphorized in the tradition as a neshama yetera, that a person has an additional soul that they get on Shabbat. And sometimes it's metaphorized as angels. The rabbi said that angels accompany people home on Shabbat from synagogue. In fact, there's one tradition that says 2 angels accompany a person home from synagogue on Shabbat. One good angel and one accusing angel. And if the angels get home with the person and the table is set up for Shabbat, the candles are lit, the house is set up nicely for Shabbat, the accusing angel is forced to turn to the good angel and say, may it be like this every week, to concede that this is how Shabbat should be for that family every week. But if the person comes home and that's not what the household looks like, the Shabbos table isn't set up, that things aren't ready yet for Shabbat, the good angel has to turn in tears to the accusing angel and say, may it be like this every week. And so our hope is that in bringing those angels home, we have the accusing angels forced to concede to the good angel that our house is set up nicely for Shabbat every week. Again, this goes to the Zachor in some way, right? That Shabbat should be beautiful and joyous, and we should be prepared for it. And also the Shamor, right? That we shouldn't engage in the work of preparing for Shabbat on Shabbat itself. Right? And some people go to very big extremes for this, right? So my teacher, Reb Mimi, in LA, during the week, she'll go to the grocery store to shop for the week. And then she'll see the really nice cookies, or something will catch her eye, a special treat. And she'll look at it and say to it, she's a very special person, she looks at it and says to it, you're for Shabbat. And she puts it in her cart, saving it for Shabbat. There's an idea in the tradition that all of our best stuff should be saved for Shabbat, right? By far, the nicest meal that Adira and I have during the week is our Shabbat meal. And part of that is calendar-wise, right? It's we want to have one night reserved for a very nice meal. But a lot of it is also in honor of Shabbat itself. We want to have everything, the nicest things ready for Shabbat, to beautify Shabbat, to make it a special time. Right? And then there's the Shamor aspect, right? We want to make sure everything is done in time for Shabbat. One of the components of that is that, traditionally speaking, we're not allowed to cook on Shabbat. And there are a whole host of laws and details about what is considered to be cooking on Shabbat, what might be merely heating food on Shabbat if there is a heat source that has been left on before Shabbat. Adira and I use what's called a plata, which is something that can be plugged into the wall, a hot plate essentially, that we can plug in before Shabbat and leave on. It doesn't actually get to a temperature where it could cook food. It just adds heat to food, so that way Shabbat during the day we can have hot food. But usually on Friday evening it means that everything is done to prepare Shabbat, especially the food, before Shabbat begins. And I want to go back to those angels. Because actually when a person comes home from synagogue on Shabbat and sits down at the Shabbat table, one of the first things we do is acknowledge those angels. We acknowledge that additional spiritual energy that we feel and have on Shabbat. And we do it through singing a song called Shalom Aleichem, which literally means peace be upon you. We say Shalom Aleichem Malachei Hasharet, right? Peace be upon you, ministering angels. We welcome those angels into our home. We acknowledge that additional spiritual presence. And so this song goes like this. Shalom Aleichem Malachei Hasharet Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Boachem L'Shalom Malachei HaShalom Malachei Elyon Mi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Baruch hu nile shalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Tzeitchem leshalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. And so what we're saying in the song is, welcome, ministering angels, the angels of the Most High, from the King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He. We welcome the angels, and then we say, let's bless God together with the angels. We say, before that, we hope they enter into the house. And then finally we say, Tzeitchem l'shalom. Please leave now. Because there's an idea in the tradition that everyone, even the angels, want to be a part of Shabbat. But what we're saying is that Shabbat isn't about the angels. Shabbat is for us. Shabbat is for human beings. Angels, you might want to celebrate it, but Shabbat is for humanity. For us to elevate ourselves, maybe to get closer to the level of angels, but nevertheless for humanity. And then after Shalom Aleichem is usually an opportunity for parents to bless their children. And the blessing on that is traditionally given is a little bit different for boys and girls. Right? So there are two pieces of it. The first piece echoes blessings that are given in the Torah to children. One is Yisimcha Elohim ke Ephraim u ke Menashe. May God make you like Ephraim and Menashe. Ephraim and Menashe were Joseph's sons. So Abraham is the patriarch of Judaism. Isaac is Abraham's son. Jacob is Isaac's son. Joseph is Jacob's son. And Ephraim and Menashe are Joseph's sons. So Jacob's grandchildren. And Jacob blesses them in the book of Genesis. And so we say to our sons, may God make you like Jacob's grandsons. And we say to our daughters, Yesimech Elohim Kesara Rivka Rachel V'Leah. May God make you like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. And may God make you like our matriarchs. And that's what we say to our daughters. And then to both our sons and our daughters, we say, Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. This is the priestly blessing, the Birkat Kohanim, which you can find in the book of Numbers. And it means, may God bless you and keep you. May God shine God's face upon you and guard you. May God lift God's face to you and grant you peace. And then, after that, it's often customary for a husband to offer a blessing to his wife. And usually this comes from the book of Proverbs, a passage commonly known as Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, because that's the opening lines, Eshet Chayil miyimsa, right? A woman of valor who can find, her price is far beyond rubies. Right? And so that goes a little something like this. Eshet Chayil miyimsa verachok mitni michra batach balev bala veshala lo yechsar gemalatu tov velo ra kol yemei yemecha yehadar shat semer fishnim vetas bechevetz kapeha. Haytaki aniot socher mimerchak tavi lachma ve'atakom be'od laila v'titin teren leveta ve'chok lenaroteha zammasa devitikachehu mipricha pe'anatakarem chagra be'oz matneha ve'tametzroteha tamakitov sachra lo yichbe be'laila nera yedeya shilcha v'kishor v'chapea tamchu palech כפה פרסה לעוני וידיה שילחה לאביון לא תראה לבית המשלג כי חובית הלבושנים מרבדים עשתה לה 6 רגמן לבושה נורה בשערים בעלה ושבטו עם זקני ארץ סדין עשתה בתמחור וחגור נתנה לכנעני עוז והדר לבושה ותזעק ליום אחרון פיה פתחה בחוכמה ותורת חסד על לשון עד סופיה הליכות ביתה ולחם עצלות לא תאכל קמו בניה וישרוה בעלה ויהללה רבות בנות עשו חיל והטלית על כולנה שקר החן והבל היופי אישה יראת אדוני היא תתעללתנו לה מפרי ידיה ויהללוה בשערי מעשיה